All right, so you know we love to go deep on all sorts of topics here on the deep dive, but you know what we love even more than that?
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting our hands on listener-submitted content.
You got it. And boy, have we got a good one today. This one dives right into something I think we all struggle with: procrastination.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there, right? And it's particularly interesting. The listeners sent us this source, Legacy of Mindset.
Right, which we're going to really break down for you all today. Figure out how to move past just those surface level tips and really dig into some seriously actionable strategies.
That's the goal, right?
Ah.
Give you a clear understanding of how to go from putting things off to actually, getting things done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore all those pesky reasons why we procrastinate in the first place, and then most importantly, equip you with the tools to overcome it. By the end, you should have a solid plan to ditch those delays.
A roadmap to action. I like it.
Okay, so let's get into it. First things first. Why do we even procrastinate? Like, it feels deeper than just laziness, right?
You hit the nail on the head. The source really emphasizes that
Yeah.
it's really just about being lazy. It's often a sign of something else going on beneath the surface.
Okay, so legacy of mindset points to a few major culprits. Number one, fear of failure. Ever been there?
Oh, absolutely. It's so common, right?
Yeah.
That anxiety about not meeting expectations, maybe worrying about what others will think, that could be totally paralyzing.
Right. It's like by not starting, we're sort of protecting ourselves from that potential judgment.
It's almost like a preemptive shield.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it could also tie into that whole idea of a fixed mindset, the belief that our abilities are set in stone. So procrastination might be a way of avoiding situations where we think those limitations might be exposed.
That's interesting. And then there's perfectionism. I think we're all a little guilty of this one sometimes.
So tell me about it, right? Always waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect condition. And you know what? That perfect moment rarely ever arrives.
Never does. It's like a myth. It just leads to endless delays. Legacy of mindset really hits on this too, saying that waiting for ideal conditions is basically a form of avoidance.
Exactly. And, that whole standard of perfect, it's all for just an illusion, this ever-shifting goalpost that keeps us stuck.
So true. So are we really striving for excellence, or are we just using perfectionism as an excuse to avoid starting something that feels tough or, maybe a little scary?
That's the real question, isn't it? And then, of course, there's that feeling of overwhelm. You look at a massive project and it's like, whoa, where do I even begin?
Totally. It's like staring at a giant puzzle with a million pieces.
Right? And our brains kind of freak out. It's like a natural defense mechanism. We avoid the discomfort of not knowing where to start.
And so we end up doing something easier, something more instantly gratifying, even if it doesn't really help us in the long run.
Exactly. We've all been there, right? Scrolling through social media instead of tackling that big report.
So thinking about all this, what kind of situations tend to trip you up when it comes to procrastination? Is it that fear of not being good enough, wanting everything to be perfect, or just feeling totally swamped?
Yeah, it's so helpful to pinpoint those personal triggers like the source suggests. It's the first step to really tackling the problem.
Totally. Because once you know why you're procrastinating in certain situations, you can actually come up with strategies that work for you.
Exactly. And the good news is that Legacy of Mindset gives us some pretty concrete techniques to deal with these roadblocks.
Perfect, because I am ready for some solutions.
All right, so let's start with that feeling of being overwhelmed. The source has a simple but really effective strategy for this one,
I'm listening.
breaking down into smaller steps.
Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward.
It is. But you'd be surprised how powerful it can be when you actually put it into practice.
So instead of thinking write the whole report, it's more like write one paragraph or even just jot down the main points.
Exactly. And, instead of clean the entire house, it's tackle just one room. Or even just organize one drawer.
Love that. You're basically making that initial commitment way less intimidating.
Right. It's not climbing Mount Everest. It's just taking a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And you know what happens when you finish that paragraph or clean out that drawer?
You feel good accomplished even if it's a small win.
Exactly. And those small wins are key. They create momentum. It's like a positive feedback loop.
You get a little taste of success and suddenly you're motivated to keep going.
Precisely so. Break it down, make it manageable, and watch that momentum build.
Love it. Okay, so break it down. Got it. What's next?
All right. This next one is a personal favorite of mine. It's called the 2-minute rule.
The 2-minute rule. Okay, I'm all ears.
It's incredibly simple. If a task takes less than 2 minutes to do it right then and there.
Don't even think about it, just do it.
Exactly like answering a quick email, filing a paper away, putting something back where it belongs. Those little things we tend to put off.
Yeah, and then those little things pile up, and before you know it, you're drowning in a sea of undone tasks.
Exactly. The 2-minute rule helps you nip that in the bud. It's about establishing a habit of immediate action.
And over time, it can actually rewire your brain to be less prone to procrastination.
It's like training your brain to just do it. Now, here's the really cool part. The 2-minute rule can also be used for bigger, more daunting tasks.
Oh, really? How does that work?
So let's say you're avoiding working on that big project that's been looming over you.
I know the feeling.
The 2-minute rule says just commit to working on it for 2 minutes. That's it.
2 minutes. That's it.
That's it. The hardest part is often just getting started. Once you break through that initial barrier, it's much easier to keep going.
It's like that saying, a body in motion stays in motion.
Exactly. So if you're dreading going for a run, tell yourself, I'll just put on my shoes and stretch for 2 minutes. Chances are, once you've done that, you'll end up going for the whole run.
I love that. It takes away the pressure of having to commit to a huge chunk of time.
It's all about tricking your brain into getting started.
Genius. Okay, so we're breaking things down and using the 2-minute rule to jumpstart our action. What else does legacy of mindset have for us?
This next one is all about deadlines. Procrastination thrives in the absence of clear timelines.
It's like without a target, you're just shooting arrows into the void.
Exactly. So the source recommends setting specific deadlines for your tasks, even if they're self-imposed.
It creates a sense of accountability, right? Like, okay, this needs to be done by this date, no more excuses.
Precisely. And the source gives a great example. Instead of saying, I'll finish this presentation eventually, set a firm deadline like, I'll have the first draft done by Friday at 5 p.m.
That specificity really makes a difference. It adds urgency and importance.
It does.
Yeah.
And for those bigger projects with deadlines further out, Legacy of Mindset suggests breaking them down into smaller milestones, each with its own mini deadline.
Oh, that's smart. It's like creating checkpoints along the way so you don't get overwhelmed and end up procrastinating at the last minute.
Exactly. It keeps you on track and gives you that sense of accomplishment as you hit each smaller target.
So we're managing task size, using the 2-minute rule, and setting clear deadlines. I feel like we're building a pretty solid anti-procrastination toolkit here. What's next?
All right, this next one is all about distractions. Legacy of Mindset points out that distractions are like a breeding ground for procrastination.
Oh, absolutely. Tell me about it. With all the notifications and social media, it's a constant battle to stay focused.
It is. So the advice here is to be really proactive about identifying and minimizing those distractions.
Easier said than done sometimes, but I'm listening.
It could be as simple as turning off notifications, finding a quiet workspace, or even using website blockers.
Creating that distraction-free zone is so important. It's like setting yourself up for success.
It is. And the source specifically mentioned social media, which is a huge one for many of us.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It suggests setting specific times to check it, or using blockers during work hours, which I know can be tough, but it's got to be so effective.
It is. It's about reclaiming your attention. And you know what? Every time you resist a distraction and refocus on your task, you're actually strengthening your ability to concentrate.
Really? It's like a muscle you can train.
Exactly. Yeah. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're structuring our tasks, managing our time, minimizing distractions. This is great, but how do we stay motivated over the long haul?
This is where positive reinforcement comes in. The source suggests rewarding yourself for taking action.
Oh, I like that. It's like giving yourself a little pat on the back for a job well done.
Exactly. You're creating a positive association with getting things done.
So after you finish a task, even a small one, you give yourself a little treat.
It could be anything. A piece of chocolate, a
Mhm.
short break, a walk outside, just something you enjoy.
The source gives an example of rewarding yourself with a coffee break after finishing a section of work. It doesn't have to be anything major.
Just something to signal to your brain, hey, you did good. Here's a little reward.
I love that. It's like training your brain to associate work with positive feelings.
Exactly. And over time, that can make a huge difference in reducing that initial resistance to starting tasks.
So much better than just relying on willpower and self-pressure all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So reward yourself, celebrate those wins, big and small.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here with these practical strategies from Legacy of Mindset. Is there anything else the source emphasizes when it comes to overcoming procrastination?
Yes. The last, but certainly not least element is self-compassion.
Ah, that's so important. I think a lot of us tend to beat ourselves up when we procrastinate, which probably just makes things worse.
Absolutely. Legacy of Mindset really stresses that procrastination is a normal human experience. It doesn't mean you're lazy or incapable.
So instead of being harsh on ourselves, we should be more understanding and kind.
Exactly like you would treat a friend who's struggling.
Acknowledge the progress you make, even if it's small, and just keep moving forward.
And if you do find yourself procrastinating, don't dwell on the guilt or shame. Instead, use it as a learning opportunity.
Figure out what triggered the procrastination and how you can approach things differently next time.
Exactly. It's about turning those setbacks into valuable lessons.
And remembering that overcoming procrastination is a journey, not a destination.
It's an ongoing process of growth and learning.
There will be ups and downs, but the key is to be patient with yourself.
Absolutely. All of these strategies we've discussed, from understanding your triggers to practicing self-compassion, they all work together to create a more supportive and action-oriented mindset.
This has been a truly insightful deep dive into the wisdom of legacy of mindset. It's clear that tackling procrastination is a multifaceted challenge, but definitely one we can overcome.
Absolutely. And it starts with taking these principles and consciously applying them in our daily lives.
So for everyone listening, take a moment to think about what we've covered today. Understanding why you procrastinate, the power of breaking tasks down, the 2-minute rule setting, clear deadlines, minimizing distractions, the magic of positive reinforcement, and of course, the importance of self-compassion.
These are practical tools you can start using right now.
And on that note, here's a final thought for you as we wrap up. Think of one task, just one that you've been putting off, considering everything we've discussed. Do you feel even a little bit more equipped to take that first step towards tackling it right now? Maybe it's sending that email, making that phone call, or just outlining the first part of a project. Whatever it is, consider taking that initial action. You might just surprise yourself with how far you can go.
Sometimes all it takes is that first step to break the cycle of procrastination.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a newfound sense of accomplishment and motivation along the way.
That's the beauty of taking action. You never know where it might lead you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into legacy of mindset. And remember, procrastination doesn't have to rule your life.
You have the power to break free and start achieving your goals one step at a time.
We'll see you next time on the deep dive.
Until then, keep diving deep.